Let's talk about someone that's already established themselves, though, and that's Demi Lovato, who just released her newest album, Holy Fvck or Holy Fuck. Yeah, why'd she just go with the U? I don't know.
Marketing.
Stylistic, I guess. Yeah, I don't know.
SEO.
Anyways, yeah, Demi went punk rock
Yeah.
metal with
Back
this.
to her roots, baby. Camp Rock. We've come full circle. Album
Yeah,
8.
I suppose so, right? I guess she's a lot more known for her pop R&B ish vibe than
Correct.
what we got on this, and she's been working in between. I think dealing with some personal matters. She mentions
Hmm.
right at the top of this album that she's you know been back in rehab for some time between the last album, and as nice as it is to have her back making music, it does feel like she's someone that is very aware that her mental health struggles and her substance abuse struggles are things she's going to be dealing with for the rest of her life. And I
Right.
imagine that in some way, making music and the cycles and the nature of stardom probably are detrimental in some way to her dealing with those things. So I imagine it's probably a difficult balance for her.
Hmm.
How did you feel? How did you feel about this like turn in terms of her musical sound and just kind of persona in general on Holy Fuck?
Right. And I think that is the key question, the most interesting thing about this eighth Demi Lovato record, because we just got the seventh one a year and a few months ago in 2021, Dancing with the Devil, The Art of Starting Over. And that was not a rock album by any stretch. That was the comeback album. That was the rebirth album, the hopefully step forward in her personal life record, right? And then Skin of My Teeth comes out as the lead single. And I mean, the song starts off, Demi went to rehab again, et cetera, et cetera. And the fact that she's kind of making light of it or fitting it into her songs, like, wow, actually, I think the way she speaks about this in the music on that, as well as other songs later in the track list, like Happy Ending, I actually kind of appreciate that candor, as you said, that self awareness, that whether it's a good thing or a bad thing, it's one of the most interesting things about her as an artist is the struggle, unfortunately, and she's at least factoring that into how she talks about life. But her going back to rock, obviously back in the day, it was much more pop rock um, sound, in the coming off Disney Channel, of course. And I believe the Jonas Brothers were super involved in the inception of that sound and writing of a lot of that music back then. But to go back to rock, I actually think for her comes across pretty genuine, given
Mhm.
that she has roots in this. And obviously, I think people know how in vogue this has become in mainstream pop music in the wake of Olivia Rodrigo and Machine Gun Kelly and even like a Willow Smith. Like we're seeing
Yeah.
this pretty regularly. Where like in the Travis Barkerization of pop has begun in many ways, and Demi doing it is like that's one of the best candidates, I think, for someone to do this, where it actually makes sense for you strategically in the pop landscape, but it also comes across as more or less a bit authentic. So I welcomed it because I think it actually sounds pretty good because her core strength is still present, which is her really good vocals. She has an amazing voice, and it fits. And yeah, I think she can handle it. So I think this music is a bit more lively and interesting than a lot of the stuff on the last record, which is kind of obviously more somber and introspective and inward looking. I think the stuff on Holy Fuck is probably a bit more fun to run back.
Yeah, you hit the nail on the head with the vocals. I think that's the thing is uh, Demi is such a strong singer and can do so many different things with her voice. I mean, even on this album, you get her giving so many different vocal performances and presenting her voice in different ways to try to create effects that at times it can feel like there's more than just her on songs. And
Mm.
obviously she has a few collaborators throughout this, but um, she could make anything sound good. I think with the way that she can sing. So then it's like, is the vision there? Is what she's trying to say with these songs at least entertaining? At most, deep and thoughtful. And I think it probably falls somewhere in the middle. It's definitely entertaining and definitely fun to run back. It feels like sometimes it's like some things are thrown in or like edgy just to kind of make an edgy album. I don't hate it. I just think it doesn't always feel as like totally genuine as some of her stuff on her last album, which was obviously incredibly personal, and she opened up about you know um, almost dying because of her
Mm,
substance use.
yeah,
So
you can't always have that in your back pocket.
exactly, exactly. And if you think about it, I think there's a point where after you've been in this cycle long enough that you do grow an edge. So it feels definitely like this is a move that makes sense for her and feels in line with her interests. Just um, I think that at moments it felt better for me on this album than others. And one of those moments is Skin in My Teeth. I think that song is really great. I actually really like the first one with Youngblood, Freak,
Yeah,
which I was surprised at, especially, Youngblood, also a Disney alum. So I was like, oh, this is kind of cool to see them teaming up together. But what other songs stood out to you?
I definitely agree about Freak with Youngblood, and Youngblood's got an album coming out next month. We'll be talking about. Youngblood brings a nice contrast with his vocals to that song, and you know his introduction to rock music. We don't have to get into that, but perhaps the authenticity is a bit more questionable with him. But it sounded pretty good, so hats off to them with that one. Um, I was struck by Substance and City of Angels because those two in particular I think are specifically pop punk tracks. The
Mhm.
drums on City of Angels really stood out to me. But just Demi's performance on that. I think those are two of the, perhaps more, I don't know, perhaps more traditional, like backward looking tracks. Like that's more like an Avril Lavigne song
Mhm.
by Demi, something like that. Skin My Teeth is definitely the catchiest thing uh, on here. And I think, if anything, my biggest criticism would just be I think the lyrics themselves, songwriting itself, can be a bit basic at times. Like it's just kind of straightforward writing, which is okay. You're making pop music still, even though it's rock at the end of the day, whatever. But, I guess this one, I'm not really looking for like too much deeper meaning. I think, if anything, I'm just taking in the fact that she's just letting loose and saying, fuck it. This is how my life is, Let me at least enjoy myself as best as I can while still trying to manage what I got going on. That's at least how I read it.
Yeah, I think that's a good observation for City of Angels and for Substance. I definitely see what you're saying with those two songs and the sound. Feed is like a little bit more of a traditional like Demi song in a way. You could have probably found that on other albums, but I didn't hate that. As like a switch up near the end. The title track, Holy Fuck, there's moments on that track where I'm like, she's just like screaming fuck just to scream it, in the background. But then there's
Yeah.
other points where like the chorus was kind of got me. She's like, I'll show you the light with the lights off. And I was like, huh, you know what? That's kind of hot. Like, good for you, Demi. You're going for it. You're trying to be a little sex pie. I don't blame you. 29, I really liked her vocal performance, and the guitar on that almost gave me like a little like Chris Cornell vibe. Black Hole Sun type distortion at the beginning. Thought that was pretty cool. And then oh man, there's one other one. Is it um man, I'm blanking on it at the moment, but there's one that starts off with some drums in the beginning that sound very like I don't know, Green Day-ish almost, kind of like this like whirring, but like almost like jazzy type sound. If I can think of it before the end of before we move on, I'll mention again. But definitely liked how she was pulling from so many different influences on this, and I think obviously like Skin in My Teeth reminds me a lot of like Garbage in ways. So you can tell that she had a lot of like songs from her childhood that she wanted to infuse into this. I think she did a pretty good job, and she's at least trying something, which we always give people credit for here, because she could have very easily just made a plain old Demi record and we'd be like, same old Demi, still a great singer, love it. Instead, there's a lot more to dig into here, so
Yeah.
I'd recommend listening to it for sure.
Yeah. It'd be interesting if she had found like a more visionary producing group. Like, I'm not expecting her to make the Halsey album with Trent Reznor and Atticus Ross, but what is like the Demi Lovato version of that? Is it
Mm.
just Holy Fuck, or is there something more? Who can say?
Yeah, I'm trying to think who would be like a good. producer for her. I would almost like to see her like work with Dave Grohl or something like that,
Oh, that'd be
especially
cool.
Grohl having lost someone to substance abuse recently, and Taylor Hawkins, and
Yeah,
obviously Cobain. I think they could maybe pull a lot out of each other, but who knows?
it's a good one.
Anyways, drop your thoughts on the Demi Lovato album below. Also, go follow our Nostalgia Best of 2022 playlist on Spotify.